Thanks for staying with TVC Breakfast. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers this Friday morning, beginning with the Daily Independent newspaper. And as we discussed earlier, NNPC attains mechanical completion of Port Harcourt refinery. That's the big story on the Daily Independent. And it goes on to add that the NNPC claims it has achieved flare startup of the refinery's Area 5 plant, while Dangote refinery gets second 1 million barrels of crude. Of course, this is going to be yet another breakthrough when things start operating over there at this refinery and indeed all the others as promised. In other stories on the front page of this paper, federal government unveils transport companies participating in the Tinubu administration's 50% rebate for Nigerians during the Yuletide. Still on the rivers crisis, PDP blasts former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, over, quote, utterances capable of dragging the party down. Federal government plans to increase flying hours to sunset airports for Yuletide. And the Supreme Court reserves judgment in Yusuf Gawuna tussle for Kano election. Senate confirms 11 Supreme Court justices as reps summon ex-aviation minister Hadi Sirika over the controversial Nigeria Air project. Let's check out the Daily Trust now. Low turnout, lack of cash, mar federal government's 50% discount for travelers. Information Minister says 5 million commuters targeted for support, 5 companies approved for logistics. Racketeering again returns to Rigasa train station. That's the big story there. And of course, there's the picture story of passengers at the Jabi Motor Park in Abuja who are, of course, traveling for the Christmas festivities. 88% of Nigerians self-employed, says the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. NNPP supporters resort to prayers as Supreme Court reserves judgment. Now, CBN investigator uncovers 593 foreign accounts opened by former CBN Governor Emefiele, says over $543 million in UK fixed deposits, more in US, China. Additional infractions discovered in Nigeria. Also, PDP calls for Oshomole's investigation over vote buying. Adams Oshomole there, now Senator, former national chairman of the ruling or Progressives Congress. And next before us is the Blueprint newspaper, with the federal government urging Nigerians, let's move into 2024 with hope. Unveils gains of Tinubu's economic security reforms, assures on naira availability. Other stories on the Blueprint: unfair/presidency names about 5 participating companies. It remains to be seen how that will pan out, but there you have a 50% fair/ as announced by the presidency, and now there are companies that have been announced for Nigerians to take advantage of. Tinubu also arrives to Lagos for the Christmas festivities, just as ahead of the Hajj pilgrimage exercise slated for 2024. Kaduna agency urges intending pilgrims to register by December the 30th. All right. Next is Business Day. Christmas cheer eludes patients trapped by unpaid bills. This has been a recurring matter with the spotlight on the health sector and all the attendant developments. Well, Business Day has a big story on this latest, saying that Christmas cheer that comes with the season, of course, might just elude patients as they are trapped by unpaid accumulating bills in the hospitals. Right, Nigeria's unemployment rises for first time since new methodology. Breath of Life, there's another story there captured on the front page of Business Day. It's a movie, so to speak, and it tells a story of a visually stunning story of faith and friendship. You might want to check that and all these other stories out. But let's hear what Ibrahim has.
Right, the first one with me here is the Nation newspaper with the major headline: Emefiele, ex-minister, 14 others indicted in CBN probe. And the writers read: investigators' report shows a massive plunder of Apex Bank. 31.78 billion naira paid to print new naira notes. 543.45 million pounds fixed in British Bank, and 1.62 trillion naira COVID-19 funds unaccounted for. First Lady gives out 25 million naira per state to senior citizens. And above the nameplates, 11 Supreme Court justices designate may be sworn in next week. Cash crunch. CBN lawmakers warn POS agents, banks, farmers linked to shortage. Tinubu will make Nigeria safe. Minister assures Ekiti workers to get 15,000 naira minimum wage award for 6 months. Next is a passenger overwhelmed free interstate U-type train service, and government petrol production begins next week at Port Harcourt refinery. And at the bottom strip, federal government to return 15 million out of school children to classrooms by 2027. Next is the Punch newspaper. Emefiele operated 593 illegal US, UK channel accounts. That's CBN Investigator. And the writers read: foreign accounts operated without board's approval. 26 trillion naira ways and means fraud uncovered. Emefiele, Buhari's aide, 12 CBN directors to face trial. 2 detained over $6.2 million theft. Amazing. Port Harcourt refinery to process 60,000 barrels daily after repairs. Kaduna tops as PSC, that's Police Service Commission, shortlist 416,270 for police job. Passenger storm train stations, interstate luxury buses cut fares. Nigerians divided as bishops kick against blessing same-sex marriage. And above the nameplate, VP, governors raise panels on crude oil theft economy. $11 billion judgment. PNID loses bid to appeal Nigeria's victory. Tinubu threatened Fubara to sign resolution. Ex-commissioner alleges. Next is Leadership Friday. Obaze reports may worsen Emefiele's woes. Alleges former CBN governor operated 593 foreign accounts without authorization. Manipulated exchange rate, says 17.4 trillion naira ways and means unaccounted for. 543,482,213 million pounds kept in fixed deposits in UK. Tunde Sabiu, originator of Naira redesign. And above the masthead, we've got FCT blames water scarcity on climate change. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Kano appeal. Trending, federal government engages 5 companies for holiday transport, and numbers, public debt rises to 87.91 trillion naira. Catholic bishops reject blessings for same-sex marriage. You can read that up on page 6. And Senate confirms 11 justices for Apex Court. That's about it for the Leadership Friday. Next is Nigeria News Direct. Nigeria's monthly expenditure declines to 1.3 trillion naira as fiscal deficit hits 727 billion naira. Out of school children, we're engaging state governments to tackle bottlenecks hindering success of UBEC funds. That's the federal government. NNPC Limited achieves mechanical completion. Flare startup of Port Harcourt refinery. NNPC Limited achieves mechanical completion. Flare startup of Port Harcourt refinery. You can see that on page 11. And above the masthead, at U-Tide, we've got Supreme Court gets 11 new justices following Senate confirmation. That's about it for the Nigeria News Direct. Next is This Nigeria. Nigeria's unemployment rate rises to 4.2% in second quarter of 2023. National Bureau of Statistics. and 88% of employed Nigerians, primarily self-employed, only 12% engaged as employees. And on the ear of the newspaper, FCT Development Control approves 1,422 building plans in 2023. Senate confirms 11 Supreme Court justices' appointments. Mechanical work on Port Harcourt refinery completed to begin production after festive break. That's according to the minister. Miscreants rob dead man in Benin City. Emefiele, that's this Nigeria newspaper. Emefiele, Special Investigator submits damning reports to President. Special Investigator submits damning reports to President. Validates this Nigeria exclusive story of November the 20th. Next is the Nature newspaper. President Tinubu backs a Cresol project on climate resilience. Adamawa State Executive spearhead transformative cleanup initiative in Yola. Borno Governor unveils ambitious irrigation plan to boost farming. COP28 CSO tasks Oyo State on destruction of Agodi Gardens, Ibadan. And Lagos begins demolitions of Parkview Estate, Banana Island. HIREP moves to actualize federal government's pledge on Ogoni cleanup. And at the bottom strip, horse racing. Skelton believes late night pass could be grand national contender. UNIZIC empowers 2,000 as environmental protection ambassadors. That's about it for the Nature News newspaper. First news is, last but not least, 11 billion dollar judgment. That's the kicker, and the headline reads, finally, London court nails PNID's coffin, quashes appeal against Nigeria. Ex-Rivers Commissioner accuses Tinubu of threatening, imposing Aso Rock resolution on Fubara, and he says, I won't be distracted despite challenges. Rivers Governor. Aida Tiwa presents 384.5 billion naira 2024 budget to Ondo Assembly. Military destroys 68 illegal refining sites in Niger Delta. And Port Harcourt refinery commences production after Christmas. That's the minister. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Kano, Bauchi, Guba polls as Senate confirms 11 Apex Court justices. Banks colluding with POS operators to disrupt naira circulation, says CBN, as minister assures scarcity will ease in new year. Nigeria Air reps summon ex-aviation minister Sirika NCAA. Rivers Guba, Supreme Court fixes January the 15th for hearing. Nigerian Catholic bishops defy Pope, vow never to bless same-sex unions. Transport fare slash. Chisco Young shall grow. Others named by presidency as participating companies. And on the bottom strip, Tinubu reintroduces school feeding program. That's about it for the newspapers.
Interesting stories. So, of course, this is another opportunity, like we always say, to head over to the paper corner or, find some other means to avail yourself of details of this, headline stories as we see in some of the major Nigerian newspapers this morning. Of course, one of the interesting items that I have seen is, that of members of the House of Representatives who have now summoned ex-aviation Minister Hadi Sirika for answers, much needed answers, if I can add, over the controversial Nigeria Air project. We hope we get those answers as required and that it doesn't stop there. Also, Daily Trust is one of the papers reporting on updates since the presidency announced that fares, bus fares will be slashed by 50% for travelers between December the 21st and January the 4th. And it also went on to add that there will be free train rides all over the country for travelers at that. Of course, the government has made an announcement. It is expected that, crucial deals, crucial agreements and discussions were had with the 5 transport companies before these announcements were made, because the names of the companies concerned have and now, in the public.
That's right.
But then there are still some concerns as to some details of this kind of arrangement. It will not be the first time that government, not exactly federal government, will announce that there will be free or subsidized transport fares for Nigerians. But what concerns many and why people may, be regarding this with some level of caution would be what's the level of agreements between the government and these participating companies, because from what we've seen so far, from what people are reporting so far, one of these companies at least is still publishing the regular bus fares.
Our reporter actually went out yesterday, Demola Lawrence, bringing us up to speed with how they're going about it. Is that you book your ticket online. There's still the normal fare. When you get there, then you also get a printed document or printed maybe ticket or something informing of the federal government's subsidized T-fare, which maybe they will now refund you either in cash or sending you, returning the money back to you via transfer. So it's one way. I just also read one of the papers. I was fumbling for the paper. I couldn't find it again, where that the train station was overwhelmed, yesterday for people.
And there's also another account of racketeering ongoing in another train station, in the Regasta train station, and this has also been a recurring problem at the train stations.
I think it's very important that the government monitors this, because
absolutely,
buses that are taking maybe 3 people, on the roll of a seat, we now start, cramming people together. Maybe they might be taking 5, and did you pay for it? This is not the federal government that paid for it.
But the bottom line, is, Nigerians should take advantage of this. This is a welcome, welcome development, and we hope, that sanity. We hope for safe travels, and all other positives at this time, as Nigerians, of course, is advantage to travel and see their loved ones and enjoy the festivities. All right, welcome.